We are live. Welcome to the Nilvah Nexus, James the Idol Smasher at gmail.com. A weekly Thursday night Torah hangout for the common man. I am your host. I don't have my host button up, do I? Let's fix that right now. You can go to the Idol Smasher, the Idol Smasher YouTube page, or email me here on Google+. Also, you can go to the Nilvah Nexus Facebook page and get in touch with us there. I'll give you links to when we're doing the hangout, and you can join in anytime you want. Tonight is a special night, y'all. It's Atheist night. Woo. I doubt anybody's going to show up, and if they do, we might get hazed. And I got my finger on the block button. That's what the block button's for. But we might get some interesting folks in here that can ask really good questions. John was in here. Brother John was in here last night or last week and asked some really good questions. And we didn't really get into it. I think we were being nice. But honestly, I'd like to get back into it, if at all possible. It kind of takes people out of their comfort zones. Nobody needs an echo chamber. Some over the Great Debate community, and I figured, you know, I'd say about 70% of what people post in there about the Torah is off. And there's a lot of it that's way off. Some of it's like way off, like so left field. It's not even worth mentioning, or it's just, so I figured, you know, why not open the room up to folks who might have questions or could ask, might have fun asking questions that we don't normally ask or get asked. And got a lag in my visuals now. But anyway, Rosalie is the only one brave enough to show up. Woohoo! no other Noah Gare, no other God-fearers, and no other atheists have shown up. And of course, the link just went out to the Great Debate community, so we'll see if we get anything there. But it's Atheist night. If atheists don't show up, we have plenty to talk about anyway.
That's right.
Well, let's brighten the day up a bit, shall we?
Go for it.
I have a light bulb, but actually,
hello, Hadassah.
That'd be nice. Light bulbs are good. Somebody's here. Who showed up?
Hadassah.
Hadassah. Shalom, shalom. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad you can make it. All right. Parsha this week, of course, is Shoftim. One of the bases that we have. If we get people to show up, we can keep going. But for the moment, right now, we'll just carry on as normal. For those of you watching out there, the Nexus usually it's a Parsha thing. It's pretty much a Parsha study, but we have a topic of the week. That deals somewhat anything really that we want to talk about. But there's also a portion that we study of the Torah every week. It's called a Parsha. And I have here the Gutnik edition Chumash, sent to us by our friend Yochanan, who's not here, who might be davening. Might be in a bit, God willing. Shoftim, it's where are we at today? Let's see. It starts on, we'll be in Deuteronomy. Let's just get to this right here out of the Gutnik edition. Kind of lets you know what Shoftim means. Why is the Parsha named this? Why? And what is the significance that we learned from the title of the Parsha? Here we go. At the beginning of our Parsha, there is a command to, well, if we're going to talk about the Parsha, let me give it over. It's Deuteronomy chapter 16. We're going to start on verse 18. And we go all the way to 21:9. So Deuteronomy 16 over to 21 verse 9. If you're in
the Gutnik, it starts on page 1237.
Stone edition, it's the 1025. We are multifaceted here. Bilateral. Bilingual. At the beginning of our parsha is the command to appoint judges, shoftim. and police offers shotrim for yourself. The Midrash stresses the need for both of these roles. Without the policeman, there is no judge. Or if the court finds a person guilty, once he leaves the courtroom, the judge is powerless unless the policeman takes control. Why then is the parsha simply called Judges, without any reference to the police? If without the policeman there is no judge. In the prophecy of the Messianic era, Isaiah mentions judges, but not police. I will restore your judges as they were at first, and your advisors as they were in the beginning. It's Isaiah 1:26. This is because of the Messianic era. It's because the Messianic era will witness the disappearance of evil and selfishness, according to Zechariah 13:2. So there will be no need for policemen who force people to be righteous. However, there will remain a requirement for judges who will pass laws, study Torah, and provide practical direction to the Jewish people in matters of Torah and its commandments. Thus, in truth, policemen are secondary assistants to the judges. Only in a case where the judge is incapable of enforcing justice must one resort to policemen who work with the stick and the whip, forcing the guilty party to accept the judge's decision. I'm going to read that again because I think it sounds vaguely important. Thus, in truth, policemen are secondary assistants to the judges. Only in a case where the judge is incapable of enforcing justice must one resort to policemen who will work with the stick and the whip, forcing the guilty party to accept the judge's decision. Therefore, our parsha is simply entitled Judges, as the appointment of policemen is not a separate commandment, but a subcategory within the commandment to appoint judges. Policemen are not an intrinsic legal necessity, and in a time when police are respectful, such as the Messianic era, they will be rendered redundant. However, since all aspects of Torah are eternal, there will be a role for police even after the redemption. Only then will it be a positive one, to announce and make public the matters of the judges and to assist the people in fulfilling the directives of the courts. That's based on Sichos Shabbos Parshas Shoftim 57:51. We've been kind of ruled by that whole whip and the stick thing the past 50 years. America tried it out. They came home from war, and by golly, everyone's going to be, and it's gotten worse in a lot of ways. Countries like Portugal, for instance, with drug folk who are destitute, instead of putting them in jail, branding them criminals, and all the stuff that comes with being a criminal, even after your crime is paid for in the world. They've gone to a much more humane way to help people out with mental illness, substance abuse, addiction problems. I have a bug. I have an addiction bug. I have to watch what I do. But what I do, it's Sam Adams Boston Lager, the greatest mass-produced beer ever. There's a lot of states now that are passing a lot of laws, drug courts, they call them, where they're having a much more humane effect upon the people when enforcing drug laws. It's a public safety issue, is what it is. Just like drunks in the streets, there's a public safety. I mean, I can't tell you what to put and not put in your body, except what Torah says: don't eat an animal when it's alive. Make sure the blood's out before you eat it. Smart stuff like that. I can't tell you what to put in your body, and I can't tell you how to have a good time. But it does become a public health problem, public safety problem. And they've taken a lot of states, and they're even here in my state of Oklahoma, they're actually looking into being more humane to criminals, or what we brand as criminals. What they say, nonviolent criminals. Well, if it's no violence and there's no victim, where's the criminal part coming in? That doesn't seem to, I don't understand. Why is it a crime? How can it be a crime? And under liberty, how can that be a crime? And there are states that are turning more away from that. And that's, I think, a good thing, because we've tried the stick and the whip. Dragnet worked for a while, but it turned RoboCop. You know, it turned DEA and ATF, and it became the people stopped being policemen, where they would tip their hat and call you sir and madam. And there's still places like that. Don't get me wrong, but you know, riot gear and the escalation and whatnot. Hopefully, we're turning the corner on that. Maybe we're turning a tide here in the free world. So, you know, as free as it can be anyway. Hopefully. It's like turning back to the judges. The judges have more direct contact with the people. There's no need for policemen. It will become almost redundant, but they're there. I think it's one Torah cop to every 10 people. Just kind of keep an eye on everybody, make sure. And if you're not, it's not like we're here to brand you and we're here to throw you in a box for 20 years or whatever. It's, you know, going to be more like, how can I help you? How can I help you keep the Torah? Be a healthy human being. Be a big-hearted. How can I help you in this? What, you know, your foot's slipping. Let me help you. What do you need? So that we may have the law enforced.
Probation
the Torah
officer,
may
probation
be
officer.
kind of, sort of, yeah. Ooh, I never thought of that. Not bad. So anyway, Rosalie, I know you got some good stuff coming up in the Haftorah, which we'll get to later. And if you're watching this from the Great Debate community, come on in. Ask questions. Nobody else is. Everybody seems to be. It's you know what? It's the ladies who come and join us. That is a lady on Hadassah's side. Okay, just making sure. There's a gentleman, hi, but the lady showed up. Nobody else. Everybody else seems to be just kind of keeping a distance. They don't want to come in. Everybody's scared. They're frightened. They're frightened of the scary atheists. They're frightened of the scary Noahides. Your scary Torah. You're going to pass judgment on us. No, we're not going to pass judgment on you. That's for other people on Google+. One of the reasons I started this thing 4 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever, was because there just wasn't a cool place to hang out and talk Torah. You know, it's there for everybody, believe it or not. It really is a universal message. But there's so much when you go on a lot of religious hangouts, man. These guys are like, it's judgment and it's fire and brimstone and it's we're right, I'm right, you're wrong. How can you be wrong? And I have fun with debates like that. Don't get me wrong, but there's not really a place to come study Torah. That's just easy. That's open for everybody. You know, it's a fairly public thing. The invite list, you know, I like to know who you are because there are a lot of crazies out there, and I like to get on with studying Torah and having a good time than having to kick schmucks out of my room that I don't know. So the invite list is, but you can always, if you want to get invited, the Nilvah Nexus Facebook page, James the Idol Smasher at gmail.com.
Hi, Frank.
Shalom, Frank.
Yo.
How you doing?
Fine.
The brave man comes. He's the only brave guy. We've got the ladies came first.
I might not be in here for long though, because I'm like tired.
Glad you stopped by. Glad you stopped by.
Like, I don't know why I'm here though, because I don't have any questions. I'm just here for the hell of it.
Cool.
I was talking to you before, right? Like there was one other time, like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Not live though. It was after the show.
Yeah, some good questions. Brother John came in last week and started, and he was here when we started this thing out years ago, and he asked some really good questions, and we weren't able to dive in as deeply as I wanted to. Epistemology, you know, that kind of stuff he's been getting into. So, you know, who needs an echo chamber, right? So I don't know. I thought we'd open it up and if anybody does have questions and whatnot, you know, feel free. This ain't a G-man hangout, man. Well, this is not. It's a different kind. It's a different sort of feel. You know, it's a different vibe.
Well, the question I have, I guess, was what was the text you were just reading? Like you quoted, you said it was Deuteronomy, and I like looked up Deuteronomy.
Oh, that was actually a commentary on the Parsha's title from the Gutnick edition Chumash.
Gutnick, is that
Gutnick? It's the Chabad Bible, basically. It was based on Sichos Shabbos Parshas Shoftim 57:51. It's just a few paragraphs that explain what the parsha is. what it means, what the word shoftim means, which is judges. And yeah, I guess if you're listening, you heard about the police, and that there'll come a time when they'll be redundant because the judges will be, it'll be a nicer place.
What does Chumash mean?
Chumash, that's Bible, study Bible, 5 books of Moses. It's a study Bible, and like for instance, the stone is what I've got open now. Stone edition, Stone edition Chumash, and it's got. Okay, you'll see over here. You've got the Torah script. This is the actual Torah. Not like a scroll, because you can see there's spaces and vowels. There are no spaces on a Torah scroll, and no vowels. But there's the Torah text, and then over here is in Hebrew, and then the Hebrew commentary here, and then Hebrew commentary on what they, it's in Talmud they have the basic Torah text in the middle, and then commentaries after it, and then commentaries on those commentaries, and they're arranged like that. So then you have, I want to say lesser commentaries, but others down here, and then it's in English with the text up here and commentary in English down here.
That's cool.
So that's one Chumash. The Gutnik is laid out a little different, but not too much different. As you can see, you've got the Hebrew on one side with the commentary in smaller print, and the English down below, and they've got some other stuff in here. Sparks of Hasidus and other commentary. Very similar, and that's how most of them are laid out. And that's a good thing, because really English is when you're reading an English translation from Hebrew, you're reading a commentary. That's why it's so important that you try to get the base text down as close as possible. Anything else is commentary. For instance, what's the English word for matzah?
I have no idea.
Yeah, you can say unleavened bread, but that's 2 words. What's the English word for matzah? There is no English word for matzah. So that's 1 word. Now imagine how other words like that don't directly translate well, considering there's a lot more information than any language. You get, the Hebrew, you get the numerical, you get, like gematria, that sort of stuff you get, and it's a bit different when you read the Hebrew, and it's always in present tense. So when we transfer it to English, it's considered commentary. So that's one of the reasons why I always stress, go to a good source for your Torah. 1, it'll make a hell of a lot more sense. Even all the goofy stuff that might not make sense, all the metaphor, all the allegory. But at the same time, you're going to get a probably more direct understanding. I saw one guy use a commentary. He said it was other gods. He translated this guy who he was quoting used some kind of translation that took the word Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel, and it was translated in his text as to the other gods. The other gods. So we've got children of Israel, which are like real people. They're Jews. I've seen them. I know. I've been there. And then you've got the other gods. That's like so.
Was you sure it's B'nai Israel? Wouldn't it? That sounds like who Michael Heiser is?
I do not know Michael Heiser.
Well, he's a Christian Bible, like a Bible scholar of some sort. And his major view is like he focuses on the B'nai Elohim, right? So the Son of God. And there's this one, I can't remember what the passage is, but it's like God holds his counsel among the B'nai Elohim. So it's basically the idea that there are these God-like beings in ancient Israel, and it's it's like he studies the word Elohim a lot, and he notes how it has like a broad cast of meaning, that it isn't used specifically to denote the Lord Most High. It's used to denote also angelic beings and basically disembodied. Like it's used specifically in reference to one of the prophets when he's like brought back to life. Well, not brought back to life, when he's brought back from the dead or something. So it has like multiple meanings, and one of those meanings is sort of like these godlike beings, which are higher than angels but lower than God. So
I wish the rabbi was here. He could tell you exactly, but Elohim is not just the name of God. Kind of like Shalom. Shalom is a person's name. It's the greeting. It means peace, and it's also one of the names of God. So there's like one word. Yeah. Put 3 Jews in a room, you get 5 opinions. So, I mean, imagine that. So Elohim also could mean just mighty men and a group of judges, a council. And that's where I think a lot of people, when they, I mean, there's a small opinion in Judaism that, yes, they are fallen angels in Genesis 6:1 that talks about the sons of God mating with the daughters of men. But really, it could mean, yeah, it could mean a lowercase e, which would be a council or a mighty men, rulers. Same thing with Nephilim. Nephilim, you know, a lot of people say that's fallen angels, and yet it's just a race of man. It was a race.
Yeah, well, the problem with that is if it's distinguished from daughters of men, then it would be a really strange distinction to make, right? It's like, oh, Elohim versus daughters of men. It's like, well, why not just say a particular race? But like, yeah, I can understand. I think
it's my understanding that the specific people that were called the Nephilim were Hebrew kings that sort of had that sort of like covenant with the God of the Old Testament, and it was only after they started hooking up with women of foreign tribes, which at the time was taboo because it was against the law of their time to start mating with like people of foreign tribes because they had different gods, and over time, you know, they had kids, and those kids became like the fallen, right? Because they were, you know, they weren't pure, they weren't, you know, believing in the one true God.
Yeah, what? Yeah, you're right. Amen. Why would God need to make, after the flood, why would God need to make a commandment? Don't eat the limb of a living animal. That means the Neanderthal man back there was tearing off limbs off rip a leg off a donkey and eat it. Why? That's why, you know, why does God make such commandments? Because, you know, we need it. Don't murder. We need to learn that. We haven't learned it yet. We keep doing it. It just, you know. So yeah, why would that kind of gives you the what we're dealing with, those kind of people, you know, perverting nature. They said one of the things that contaminated the earth were aborted fetuses. And consider not caveman, but 3 hairs from a caveman aborted fetuses, you know. It's pretty nasty stuff. But still, if it says B'nai Yisrael, it's saying the children of Israel. That's what you should read. That's what should come out in your translation is, but not the other gods, because he went off on a thing about polytheism, and polytheism's crazy in Torah. You know, I mean, yeah, they say there are other gods, but people worship trees, they worship mountains, they worship rocks. Not all of them get carved. You know, some people worship nature itself. Pantheists worship creation itself, which is not too far off, but. Shalom, Yochanan.
Hey, John.
Hey, what's going on? How was the night so far?
Dark.
They got me talking about Torah translations, how English is a commentary. Frank brought up a good point. You know, I mentioned this last week. You know, how people can mistranslate something so simple, and that one little mistranslation can lead to a lot of problems, you know.
Hey John, what's up? You having fun controlling the media?
Can you say that again, Wolf?
No, I was just being funny. I said, is he having fun controlling the media?
Ah, wrong Jews. It's true. I don't care what anybody says. I've heard it. I've seen it. It's sad. It breaks my heart. But the biggest anti-Semites out there are Jews. I mean, when a Jew falls hard. Hard.
Baseless hatred.
Speaking of which, what do you think of the aftermath in Charlottesville? What do you think of that? You know, since we're talking about Judaism and stuff like that.
We talk about anything here, man. I think it was an instigation on all sides. I think there was. I think it was instigated. I think there's always going to be that bit of tension. I think it's perceived tension. But I'm beginning to think more and more that it was instigated. I don't mind the Confederate monuments coming down, but I don't particularly care for the Lincoln Memorial or Mount Rushmore either. I understand a monument, but you know, we're having statue wars in America.
I mean, like, I don't think any of it should be taken down because, like, I mean, it's one thing to take it down legally, but it's another thing to literally tear it down. One is public defacement. You know, it's you know, like if it was done legally, I'd have no problem with it. But if people are like defacing statues because whatever reason they have, then it's just, well, fuck the law. Really, oh, sorry, person. But
No, you're right.
Shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, tits, fart, turd, twat. I said them all, so go ahead.
Amen.
I mean, it's not like I'm saying I'm the perfect, most law-abiding citizen on earth, but still, like, you know.
I mean, the way I see it is, like, honestly, when you look at someone like Robert E. Lee, I mean, how do I put this? I've seen people try to use this whole, okay, so if this statue got to go down, like the Baphomet statue, you know, like this, what the Satanic Temple that has to go down because it's apparently all over the country, which isn't true. I mean, just with the Baphomet statue, that's like a First Amendment deal, right? Like that's just freedom of expression. With this, with the thing with the Robert E. Lee statue, I mean, he seceded from the U.S. The Confederates weren't exactly all encompassing of the American ideal. You know, they were like far more authoritarian folks, and honestly, I mean, it like the only reason those Robert E. Lee statues are even up isn't because, you know, the whole like heritage pride thing and all that. It's really maintained for the sake of you know, the Jim Crow era, basically keeping blacks in line, making sure they don't rise up or anything like that. So, I mean, you know, I mean, I don't mind it. It's whatever. I mean, put it in a museum or something more appropriate, but I don't think we should be commemorating that stuff in the open, right? You know, I mean, it's not like Robert E. Lee is going to disappear from history, but I don't think we should be commemorating the like that kind of notion in this day and age right now.
I agree, but at the same time, they're tearing. There's a difference between legally having the statues removed and just tearing them down.
Well, legally, you know, I'm talking about putting it in a museum. I mean, I obviously haven't looked at every single like incident. If they are tearing it down, I mean, that's gratuitous, you know.
Yeah, there are people who are like, so there's like a statue of a saint that was defaced, and there's issues with the saint's history. So there was a that's the first one. That's the only one that's coming to mind for some reason. But I'm sure I've seen other pictures of like statues which are being torn down. Maybe I didn't look into the context as much as I should have. So like, you know, maybe that's a problem. But I'm quite sure that I know of at least one instance where there was a statue which was like spray painted on and stuff. So
I saw that picture too.
Oh,
I don't think any of them should be glorified. Jefferson, Lincoln, Washington. I don't give a shit. I really don't give a shit about any of those people. Never met them, don't know them. I've heard as much good as bad. Yes, they did this, but George Washington also brought in the whiskey tax. So, you know, oh, now we have to pay for the war. Oh, what, the blood and the guts of at least what we got Indians, we got colonials, we got the French, and we got the English, all shedding their blood and their guts on the beach. We've already spent the money to make the lead to shoot into them, and now we have to pay for the war. This country started off on bullshit. I'm a liberty guy. They don't need to be glorified. There's nothing to glorify about those people. They're just people. Robert E. Lee didn't believe in more memorials and monuments, and you know, I tear them all down. Tear them all down.
Okay, now I'm going to jump in on this and argue you.
All right.
Because if you're going to do that, you might as well get rid of every cemetery ever in this country and everywhere else. Because that's what headstones are memorials to that person. Argue that one. No. No. That's the same thing. Somebody bought and paid for that statue to be there as a memorial. There you go. Same thing.
well,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know about saying how it's akin to a statue, but I mean that's more. I mean that's more of a personal thing, don't you think? Like, hey, this guy's dead. Here lies him. He was born this day. He died this time.
Okay, we're going to take this street and name it something else after somebody else.
If they're a Klansman, go for it. We're trying to do that in Norman. We've had after some Grand Dragons, man. And yeah, West Virginia needs a makeover. I'm sorry, dude. No, that's an un-American. That is un-American. And I don't care how American-based it is. It is un-American. It's got to go. And we should not glorify anybody. All things good. Yeah, I've known white supremacists. I used to shave my head and have a goatee. So I had a lot of guys call me brother. You know, big hunk of guys. You know, very pale. What's up, brother? They just kind of thought that I was no. If only you knew. If they're Klansmen, I mean, but at the same time, I mean, there was an actual law passed to fix it in '58 that legally made Confederates and Confederate soldiers and their children official citizens, and all the benefits that children would get. Of course, they don't have it now. Nobody's alive, but they did pass a law in '58 to say that the United States officially recognizes that
the fallen soldiers, yes. They were now considered United States soldiers with all the benefits and everything else that went with it.
Yeah. So by the law of the land, you know, and I give the Confederacy crap. I also give Yankees crap, but
hey, Rose, you got feedback.
I got feedback. Oh,
no,
Rose.
I'm going to Rose.
I don't know how, but okay. But I'm talking on a headphone.
It'll come back. I'm going to mute you for a second.
There was like a dryer or something in the background.
It's a thing inside. Yeah, it happens on their end sometimes.
I'm on an all-in-one computer, so I don't have. It's the air fan.
Okay. Yeah,
it does. The words of Indiana Jones. It belongs in a museum.
Yeah, just to switch the conversation a little bit. Yeah, I remember reading this article that said, like, I think it said like 67% of Trump voters will never ever change their minds or stop approving, right? So there's sort of like a cult of personality built around Trump with these Trumpists, right? Like there's sort of like there's like this unquestionable logic, you know, like it's sort of like him being akin to the dear leader. You know, like he could do whatever he wants. He could say whatever he wants. He could contradict himself, say people were good on both sides, and blow through the Secret Service budget and there's all this, and just, you know, the first rule of it, the first thing, you never question Trump. You know, so I mean, that's just absolute. That's paramount. You know.
You don't like the both sides thing, huh?
I mean, it's not that I didn't like it so much. It didn't make sense. You know?
Yes, it does. It makes entire sense. You have freedom of speech in this country, whether you like what's being said or not.
When the Nazis,
Jews were the first ones to stand up, although they hated it. They were the first ones to stand up with the Klan and the Nazi people, saying, do we like you? No. But do we respect the fact that you have the right to say whatever you do? Yes. And they were the first ones to stand up there and say Trump was correct with not taking sides because he's doing his job. He's following the law.
Well, the
freedom of speech, and they have the right to say it whether we like it or not.
I'm not saying he didn't have the right to say it. I mean, that's not in contention, right? It's in the context of what happened in Charlottesville. Like what basically what he's saying doesn't really make any sense, right? He said, okay, so basically you got one side of white supremacists and the other one who's Antifa. One side is basically a group of people who believe that they're perfect and that there are other people that are here trying to take away their country and they're trying to make America great again. And on the other side, you got anarchists who just want to break shit because they don't like the current administration in place. So,
just like they did over there around the St. Louis area.
Well, yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's just hard to make an address when, you know, there's no in between, honestly.
Well, let's put it. I'm going to say the Klan does march once in a while, and they'll walk around and strut, and they'll slap their chest and tell you how great they are and how wrong everybody else is, and then they go home. They paid to have that rally. They went to the city and said, we want to strut our stuff for a few hours on this day in this area. They paid their money, they got their permit, and they did their thing. And then you had a whole bunch of motherfuckers. No better. I don't give a flying fuck. No better. They burn books and show up to start shit. That's a brown shirt, man. That's a black shirt. That's Nazi tactics. Fuck you. Fuck Antifa. Fuck the Klan. Fuck Antifa. They showed up uninvited, no permit, didn't ask the city, and stirred some shit up. I mean, there's a guy here peacefully saluting a Robert E. Lee statue, which I can give you the second commandment and tell you what I think of that. But he's got his Confederate flag and his grays are, and he's saluting the Robert E. Lee, and you have two other people giving him the finger and screaming in his face. They showed up to instigate violence. And I'll tell you this, that damned mayor, whoever the fuck it was, or whoever was in charge, the police did not keep the peace. So if there's anybody I want to blame, it's the goddamn cops. Fuck Virginia cops. Losers, a lot of them.
It wasn't the cops. They were told, and whoever has authority over them to tell them to step down. It was the higher up.
Then you work for crap, Virginia cops, and you need to find a better line of work. That's who I blame. That's who I blame. I blame the goddamn cops. Whoever's in charge of them, I put the mayor's, whatever, mayor, chief, whatever. You tell those people to stand down and not keep the peace?
It was the governor.
I'll tell you one thing. I can't knock them for doing what they do. These crazy mothers, especially Black Lives Matters, I kind of can't blame them in a lot of ways. But that was instigation. That was deliberate. Let the white man strut his. He's not even a white man. F that shit. They hate, these mothers. These inbred, whatever, dude. They want to strut. They want to pat their chest and scream how great white people are. Come. You shut your blinds. You bring your kids inside. If you want to go out and instigate them, what do you expect? And then you want to say, "Oh, it was the racist's fault." You're all big.
Look, I'll say this, and this is now. I know this is gonna sound anecdotal. I know, but fuck it. But fuck it, right? Okay. Now I go on Discord a lot. I talk to a number of different people. Now there's this guy on there who identifies as an alt-righter. He calls himself Dio. His real name Rustin. Okay. This guy who sort of lives in the South, like in the area, basically said that he basically compared it to like when you go to like a SmackDown, you expect there to be some pain or something, like he was basically trying to make it equivalent to like a fight fest or something like that, or a showdown or something like that, some shit. Basically, here's the thing: you got two of basically the worst sides of the political spectrum in one place. Now, of course, of course you don't expect them to get along and shit like that. But at the same time, like what went down there was a complete catastrophe. Now, who was it specifically that caused the shitstorm? It was basically one guy in a car that felt like he was being threatened, and he had to he had the right to bear cart, basically. Okay. Now, I'm not, and before I conclude, I am not a fan of Antifa. I think they're honestly counterproductive jackasses, in my opinion. I think that the world would be better if they go off and freaking go to college or something and learn something. But honestly, like, we need a purging of these groups. All right.
Yes.
They're not making us look any good for our country. They're honestly like counterproductive fuckwits. You got one side who's basically galvanized by the view of basically going back to good old fashioned civic nationalism with the alt-right. That resonates with those guys. And you got people who are reacting to them that are basically saying that the only way they could actually bring down the current status quo is by breaking it apart physically. All right. Either methodology, it doesn't do well for the condition of our nation. So there's got to be a way to purge them. Like I'm not saying an actual purge like from the movie, but there's got to be some way to like at least purge them ideologically speaking.
you dig a big 80-acre dirt arena, maybe where the meteorite hit in Arizona, and you put them all in there and you feed them a bunch of PCP and whiskey, and you let them kick and beat the crap out of each other, and you take all those survivors and you bring them out and put them on pedestals on national television and shoot each one in the freaking head. That's what we should do. We should encourage their war. We should make sure that both sides win. That's what I think. But people, you don't shout at Nazis. They have the freedom of speech. No, you don't shout at Nazis. Correct. I believe you exterminate them. I don't believe a Nazi should be allowed to live in the United States. Either get out or you can be a legal target for any citizen. That's what I believe you should do with Nazis. I do not believe in freedom of expression. No, not when it comes to people who have waged war against us, who've waged war against liberty. If you're waging war against liberty, you don't deserve to live.
Like
liberty or death. Get out. If you want to live in
war against so, like not all the Nazis of that time period are really old.
True.
I don't know if this is a joke or something, but apparently, like they're trying to say that if you call them Nazis, that's apparently racist. And that I don't know how that logic works. Apparently, they're trying to gain. I mean, the stupid thing is, right? That they're saying that their ultimate goal. I'm just gonna focus on the alt-right for a second. Their main goal is to create like this white ethno state, right? Where they have where for most people of European ancestry, they have their own state, and the rest of us have also individual states to go to, whatever. It's weird. They're saying they want that, but they're not Nazis. And they're trying to garner sympathy amongst people who aren't Nazis to try and have their views resonate with them. And it's crazy, right? Either they want the white ethno state or they just want to keep like immigrants and Muslims out of the country. I mean, it's just I just think it's ridiculous. It's basically that they want this candy land of white people or they'll be happy with just garnishing that sympathy. But the stupid thing is, in the wake of this incident in Charlottesville, I think they basically lost even that card, like the sympathy card for basically having Nazi views or whatever, like for this white ethno state, because it basically just shows that what they did there, they're no better than Antifa. In that they're willing to be violent, they're willing to basically cause discord and hysteria, all in the name of their views. And they're actually trying to say this is a good thing, or that there's some positive publicity with this. Is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, well it's the divide. That's why I'm saying it's instigated. It's the whole, and the fact the media keeps showing it. It's instigation. They want us to be divided. They want us to be divided within ourselves. Keep us small and stupid so we're not aware of shit. I really don't think that either one of those people represent most Americans. I mean, they're the same thing. They're the exact same thing. They're both two socialists out to cause division in a free country. Two socialist groups. Now that should tell you something right there. When you got your Nazi on one end and your hammer and sickle on the other, fighting each other, you should encourage that. Yeah. You should encourage it. You should throw drugs in to make them all hyperactive, and they should tear each other apart. Every last one of them needs to go away. Yeah. I believe in the purge.
Like in that process, other people's stuff is going to get destroyed, or other people are going to get dead.
No,
I don't agree. I don't agree with the initial dichotomy of it, socialist being socialist. Okay, now let's focus on the Antifa group, right? Okay, they're basically a lot of black hooded anarchists, right? They think, they don't believe in like the current status quo. Or that any change or reform could happen. The only way they believe any change could be done is if they basically they're sort of like, you could say that they're sort of like commie fanboys. In that
anarchism is an extent. Well, I mean, like there are forms of anarchism which I think aren't communism, but like it is a kind of communism, or it's relate. The philosophy is in some way, shape, or form related to socialism, and I can't remember how because I'm not.
Well, okay. The reason I'm saying commie fanboys is in the sense that they don't believe in a state. Basically, they want a stateless society, and the only way they could actually do that is they basically have to be the revolution themselves. How they're going to make the revolution? By breaking shit up. My point is, Noam Chomsky said that they are a major gift to the right, and I honestly agree, because just given their assessment, what do? They basically just show the irrationality that could be produced on the left, in that they're not winning, these debates with arguments or actual logic or critical thinking. They're basically causing destruction. They're causing mayhem. They're breaking shit. They're basically displaying the logical consequence of their views. And that just plays right into the hand of the right, because they could basically make themselves look reasonable and bolster their views greater. Although
I didn't want to love Trump. I didn't vote for him. I'm a Rand Paul guy. But I like him now. You've made me, I have no choice. He's right. No, Chomsky's right. I'm a living testament to Chomsky's right. Yeah. I never disliked Trump. I disagree with some stuff. Some stuff I think is good. Him helping out Flint is good. But yeah, I didn't want to like the guy, but they make me like him now. If that's the guy you hate, yeah, I'll stand over with him. If this is what it means to not be a Trump guy, I guess I'm a Trump guy. I didn't vote for him. I never wore the red hat, but I'll stand with him now if that's my only choice. Actually, it's not. It's not my only choice, and he's my president. I accept it. Obama was my president. I didn't badmouth him when he was in office until he pissed me off, and then I went after his policies. I never went after the man. I'm not going to go after Trump either. Some people who have working for him are schmucks, and he had to choose what he had to choose from. It's part of the game. I get it. I'm just glad there's not another failed lawyer or somebody's son that was a political giant before to get in the White House. Finally, we've got a dude. I know he's rich. I know he's rich. I know he's a TV celebrity guy in his later years and all that good stuff. I know he's got pull and people like him. But he's a dude. He's not a lawyer. He's not a politician. He's not some junky failed fuck like Obama, like the Clintons. And he's not somebody's son like Bush. Bush, nothing wrong with the guy, but come on. He's not. At least we have a dude in the White House. I'm glad that he screws things up and then he self-contradicts and he messes up his texts. Good. 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 He's imperfect. I'll be damned. We have a guy who doesn't have to play perfect. That makes me very happy.
Yeah, but like that's good. Like I can see why that would be good on one end, but like
shalom.
On the other end, it's like a friend of mine said this, and I don't know to what degree I agree with it. And I'm sure like there's a small number of people who are, but like he shouldn't like we got to hold our politicians to a higher standard, because if it gets to the point where he's allowed to contradict himself in whatever way he wants, then it's like, so that's like.
But he's not faking it. He's not faking it. He's just. I don't know. I like that. I don't know.
I don't know if he's like. I doubt.
We're having a wonderful conversation in here. Guys who just joined the room. Good to see you, Gab. Glad to have you here. And Shelo as well. Shelo, how are you doing?
Pretty good. It's not to like be rude, but it's pronounced Shalo.
Shelo. Well,
there you go.
I'll be wrong. Shelo?
Yeah. Yes, Shalo.
Welcome to the Nilvah Nexus. Good to have y'all here, man. I'm having a blast. We're talking some heavy stuff, man. Drama in Charlottesville.
Oh my God! I just
Confederates and let them go to and Union guys and let them go to war again. Let's do it.
I know.
Let's do it.
I just don't understand why. Just like why Charlottesville? What the hell happened?
It's a great stage. It's a great stage, and everybody turned up, and it was a great show. And they sold it to the American people, and not a lot of them are buying it. Not a lot. That makes me very happy. That makes me very happy.
Just kind of sad to see that there's still people out there who do this type of crap, you know? I mean, we've advanced so far as a society with all the civil rights and everything. We still have people like this. I mean, it's ridiculous. At least a lot of them got fired. Apparently, there's a Twitter account that it's like, yes, you're racist, and it went after all the people who it could like prominently see in the crowd, and like shouted out their Twitter accounts and got them fired.
Ooh.
Yeah, I saw that. Like, one guy was he worked at Domino's. I think he was a manager or a cook, and it says like whatever his thing was. Yes, you are racist, and then like next day he got like fired from Domino's.
That's a shame.
Odessa, you got something to say?
I mean, as far as, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes.
Come on.
Like, I mean, as far as the whole Nazis, the ordeal, I mean, like, I'm related to it. I'm used to it. I mean, I've been undergoing conversion for 3.5 years, and honestly, like, this is my Thanksgiving dinner. Like, those people are what I sit at Thanksgiving dinner with. So, like, for me, it's like they talk, but like they hardly ever do anything.
Yeah. They strut and they show their stuff and that's it. I don't care if you're racist. I really don't. I don't care if you're racist. I just want my pizza on time.
I mean, I don't blame
Amen,
you on
brother.
that one.
Well, here's the thing. Do I care if you're a racist on a basic moral level? Yes. But I would much rather that you be very open and brazen about it and that you don't wear a hood so I know exactly who not to give my money to.
There you go.
Right. Yeah, morally, it's beyond wrong. I mean, in any society that you look at almost nowadays, it's just there's no use for it. There's no reason to be racist other than just to be racist.
Or unless you're like some, there's no reason to be racist, yeah, but like people think there are reasons to be racist because they're.
Yeah, they might try to argue it, but it's a fucking retarded ass argument in any
Yeah, well,
situation.
Let me pass a question around here and see.
Everyone thinks something is. Go ahead.
An idea. Okay. As a Ben Noach, the 10 Commandments don't directly apply to me necessarily. But there is the 10 Commandments, and you got this commandment in there that said, "Don't make engraven images of anything on the earth, or in the sky, or in the waters below." No, don't make any. Don't try to reproduce reality on a sculptured image. Now, I've read through the Noahide law. I know that nobody's going to be stoned anytime soon because we have a statue of the dude who founded the city. Whatever. That's not what I'm talking about here. But God does say this. And we have statue wars now. We've got ISIS tearing down things that aren't even idols. We've got, could there be a logical basis? Possibly. I think there is. That's me personally, and I'm probably biased. But is there some basis that we don't glorify men like this, that we don't make these images? Because look what it's doing now. It can't stop here, because this could go on to Jefferson. It could go on to Washington. No matter how great they treated their slaves, they were slaves, and they could not buy their freedom. Is it could we say it was logical maybe not to make monuments like that?
There's two problems, I think, with that. First, well, maybe I'll just sum up one.
Yeah, do so. Go.
There's a degree to which we don't put a monument up to the person themselves per se, but more what they represent. So, right, like American ideals as enshrined in like the Constitution, having all this other history around it kind of pumps up the ideals rather than the individuals. And so it's like to one degree, on one end, I understand that there is this danger of hero worship and whatnot, and that distracts and leads into other like bad shoot-offs. But more centrally, it's the American ethos and American pathos, which is kind of held up in these things, which serve in turn to enshrine our ideals, free speech and whatnot. Now, so it's sort of like the this is a bit of an exaggeration, but like the Ark of the Covenant, how it was like all beautiful and ornate and whatnot, or how, you know, like there's very specific rituals that people do, and it kind of, I mean, like it's a watered down form of that, and it's a rightly watered down form of that, because I don't think you should divinize mankind, but
Right.
but like it's something like that. It's sort of like a way of enshrining the ideals, which has the potential to be misused. So I guess that's like one point all in one, and I don't remember what the other point is anyway. But that was.
Thank you. Actually, brilliant. Somebody else. Wolf, what do you think? Any logic in the second commandment on the 10 Commandments that we don't make engraven images because it could lead to what we've got now? Possibly. Go ahead.
I mean, the way I see it is, I mean, me being a bit of an appreciator of the arts, I mean, I really don't mind images. Honestly, I mean, you know, we're humans. You know, we express ourselves in those kinds of ways. So I'm not really surprised that, you know, we do get attached to our ways of expression and creativity. I think there are times where we can get a bit too hung up and attached to images, though. I mean, the way I see it is, it honestly takes moderation. You know, like you recognize the context of a thing, of a creative work, and you don't go overboard with trying to maintain it, right? Like as long as it's as long as your speech is maintained and you don't like try to force it on anyone else, it's all good.
Yeah, another point I just thought of was I'm like, what are you using right now? Right, this is a communication device which creates an image of you so that I can see your face. Is that a graven image? It's
Well, it's sculptured by hand, as if by hand. It took hands to make the computer. It takes hands to keep things running.
Like, what about paintings then? Like, are paintings graven images?
No.
Okay, so it has to be sculptures. Like, as I understand, the graven image is like an idol. Very specifically, is a house for a god. Right? It's supposed to be something which
something to be worshipped.
Yeah, it's basically a religious kind of
something that's worshipped.
Yeah, like that's like a broader idea of it. But then there's the question of what constitutes worship. Is it merely bowing down to, saluting? Is that worship, or is that, like,
I don't know about salute. I know bowing down, giving incense, giving flowers, pouring a libation.
Yeah, but basically showing reverence to it.
And again, does the object of reverence, like, so for example, Catholics will, like, they have statues, but they're not worshiping the statues, right? They're not saying, well, the God is in the statue, or the statue is itself the thing being worshipped. It's like kind of like
there's a difference.
What?
There's a difference. If they pray to that statue, if they pray to it in order to get to God or whatever, yes, that's idolatry.
Okay, there you go.
I'm hardcore.
Okay, that's more going into, like, you know, specific denominations and shit. I feel like that'd be going down a rabbit trail. But going back to the main context of like the statues,
just having them.
It's basically if you worship that thing or consider that thing to have some kind of divinity to it. If it's just like, if it's a painting, as long as you don't think that painting is like the living incarnation of like a deity or some like team of super deities that's going to come back, I mean, it's fine. It's not really problematic. At least that's my understanding of what a graven image is.
Yeah. Anybody else? Hadassah, John, Shalo?
You said that it's only considered statues. I do know that there is an opinion on 2D images being forbidden. It's kind of a minority opinion, not very widely followed, but it is there.
Yep.
Guess those people can't use Google Plus.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Yeah, there's some pyramids over in the Middle East that need to come down too, if you're going to get that way about it.
Could be worse. Could be Amish.
See, Islam was very careful, and I think very deliberate in the fact that they are so ape about not drawing or making an image at all of their prophet Muhammad, sorry, the Hebrew kind of Muhammad.
I mean,
Anyway, because the other side of the whole thing was an entire religion. At the time, there was no Protestant Revolution. That's what people did. They had engraven images, and it doesn't say believe that the image that you're bowing to is God or is me. God says just don't do it, and we do it. I grew up in a church that did it. They bowed. They got the incense. They light candles. They bowed down, genuflect. First thing you do, there's the Mary table, and then when you go hardcore Catholic, you got all these little saints people pray to.
Pocket saints, yeah.
They're praying to the dead now, so that a dead priest can be a saint. What's his name? Up in Midwest in Kansas. I mean, I saw this documentary, and I just want to shoot people. I just want to shake them. Are you stupid? You're praying to what are you, stupid? You're praying to the dead. You're praying to dead people so that the dead guy can become a saint.
Well, I mean, strictly speaking, I think that you're not praying to versus praying. There's weird distinctions Catholics make. So they speak of it they don't think they're dead in the strict sense, right? They think they're alive in heaven or something. If
you're speaking to two ex-Catholics, so go for it.
Hold on, I have a question. Don't they have belief that they're in some kind of limbo at that time, or what?
Okay, so no, a saint. Once a saint is beatified, they're considered to be in heaven, right? That's just what when they're canonized as a saint, right? So beatified is the wrong word. They are in heaven, right? That's just the Catholic Church's infallible declaration that this individual is now in heaven. And so you can pray to them for intercession, right? You don't pray to them as though they have some power. You pray to them so that they will in turn pray to God. They will intercede on your behalf. Like you might ask somebody, where did Wolf go? Okay, so you might, I'll keep on talking.
Wolf left? Did you run Wolf off? Go ahead, man.
Well, the idea is that you can't pray to somebody in purgatory. You can pray for people in purgatory. You can intercede for them. It's pointless to pray for people in hell because they're in hell. But if they're in heaven, you can pray. I don't know if it's per se pray to them, but it's ask them for intercession. You're praying to them in the sense that not that they have any power to answer the prayer.
But they got a better connection to God than we do.
Yeah. Say it again, Rosalie.
They've got a better connection to God than you do.
Yeah, that's it. And that's the idea of intercessory prayer. It's like asking a fellow Christian for prayer, except they don't think they're dead. So it's not really praying to the dead in their mind, or at least dead in the sense of dead.
They got some great workarounds, man. They really thought that through in a lot of ways. Not a lot of ways, but
I mean,
I'm sorry, if it's a gravestone, if you're not on the earth and you weren't, in a rocket ship or something, or a chariot didn't take you. Actually, the chariot brought him back down. So, you're dead. That's my 2 cents anyway. I had a really good question.
I forget what I was saying after that.
Sorry, yeah.
That was about it anyway.
You're on it, man. You're on it.
But again, it wouldn't be. They're not praying to the statues, but again, that's just the weird stuff.
My mom tried to say that. It's like, do you think God lives in that piece of wood? No. Well, then we're just doing it out of reverence. Well, God says that kind of reverence is actually detestable. He says, yeah, but we don't think it's God. I mean, really, I did 3 laps with my mom on that one. I was like, okay, I can't talk anymore about this.
Yeah, define exorcisms. Next question.
Hey, I've heard that. Yeah, don't wear sandals in a graveyard because evil spirits can enter through the little toe.
Who says that?
Yeah, Catholics do.
I don't know. I'm almost certain that is not an official Catholic teaching.
Most of the Catholic stuff is an official teaching.
Well, I mean, prayer to the saints is facilitated. Like you can, again, there's weirdnesses there, but you can legitimately.
James and I used to be Episcopalians. We get the Catholic thing.
No.
Oh, we've had 2 trees.
It's you got to be aware just because like there's a lot like it's sort of like saying, oh well, Catholics do this, therefore Catholicism is bad. Well, that's like not. There's a whole bunch of Jews who are atheists. It's
Yeah.
like, it's like you can't really measure it, per se, by the standard of the practitioners or the individuals or the laity. You have to measure it by the standard of the to whatever degree you can understand the
Right.
official writings of the institution, if there is such an institution, or at least the highest writings you can get and the best interpretations of those writings you can get. And that's basically. So yeah, there's probably all kinds of superstitions in the Catholic with Catholics, which is looked down upon by the church. It's the church official, but that's unfortunate. But so there may well be saint worship, but I don't think. But it's most definitely condemned by the church. It is sinful under the church's views. So again, there's the question of what constitutes worship, which is a broader philosophical question.
Yeah.
So,
There's an idol in your mind. Always an idol in your mind. It's a human frailty. Yeah. Okay. The rabbi said it first. There are plenty of Jews that have
Right.
Is me off. The little toe thing with the spirits entering when you're in a graveyard. I'm not going to say the man's name, blessed be he, but yeah, I got that from a rabbi.
Oh, I'm sure you did. In fact, I smelled that crap a mile away.
I didn't want to say anything,
Athlete's foot, dude.
I can say that because I am also a rabbi, and I like calling out other rabbis on their shit. I'm also one of those rabbis that swears, so get used to it.
Yay! We got a human being, all right.
I love that. Oh, you swear? That's so unholy. So swear. All the people
We're going to hell. Yeah.
All the people that accuse me of being unholy for swearing are all people that are evading tax fraud or have a fugitive basement, or they're covering up for a child molester or something. So stuff it.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Exactly. Yeah.
You swore when you molested a child.
That's basically how that conversation went. Yeah.
You don't have that on tape.
We do now.
Oh, I don't talk to that guy anymore.
Don't blame me on that.
Yeah, there's some superstitious stuff. It kind of gets out of hand.
Yeah, the Irish are the biggest instigators of that too.
I think that's like a universal problem for all religions, but
No, the Irish are the king and queens of superstition. That's where they are.
J-Lo, I'm going to pick on you for a second because it is Atheist Night and you are a guest, so you can do whatever you want, but are you an atheist, sir?
Yes, I am.
You are an atheist. What led you to being? Were you raised?
Well, no, like this is actually like I don't know if other people have, but like my dad was an atheist. Like he's a pretty hardcore atheist, and my mom's a Christian. I don't know. I think she's Baptist. I'm not sure, but
how did that
but what's like the thing about it is like I never really had a religion, or I wasn't really atheist. When I was young, I wasn't ever pushed on anything as a child, so it kind of, and I was like super huge on dinosaurs, and I still am like I love the hell out of dinosaurs, and like I saw the contradictions of young Earth like Christians of like how could dinosaurs exist if the Earth is a few thousand years old. So that kind of led me to it. If like I think that would be the breaking point. But yeah, like nothing really hardcore pushed me to either side. So
don't you know the dinosaurs are dragons, right? Idol Master, Idol Smasher.
Smasher.
Sorry,
Master.
So didn't you say that like in a comment like that?
I've got it. It suspends my disbelief. Let's just put it that way. I don't know what to believe. I like to keep an open mind, and I do like mystery, and I do like wonder, and I do like myth. I'm not going to deny that. That's where I hang out with the nerds. But
join me. I'm a universal skeptic. Everything's a mystery.
Nice. I think I would not doubt. I think because we have so many depictions of giant lizards, and some of them actually match what we find in the fossil record, I would not doubt that memories of these dragons survived through the ages.
Yeah, but like superstitions, like they can be explained by all kinds of like people. Where do you think these superstitions are coming from? They're coming like people can make this stuff up, and maybe somebody saw some like some dinosaur bones, and it's like, oh look, somebody just made a story out of it because that's what people do.
Yeah, that it's possible that it was either dinosaur or crocodile. That's what people predict. Most historians.
I'm just saying that they're alternative. Like you can. I have no problem with the suspending.
China, you've got them in Africa, you've got them in South America, the North American Indians. It's a universal motif. Go ahead.
Everywhere.
Yeah, even Antarctica. I mean, there was not a place that dinosaurs were not.
No, I'm talking about the dragon myth is ubiquitous.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
The dragon myth. Well, yeah, that too. That's everywhere.
The fact is that the naturalistic explanation that I offer is like the universality of the dragon myth is perfectly consistent with the universality of human tendency to mythologize, and the universality of dinosaur bones, and like the limited. I also gave an example in the comment that was potentially like our ancient ancestors were hunted, were related to monkeys, so we might have like some deep evolutionary cognitive fear of like winged animals, certain jungle cats and snakes, and so like those sort of fuse together, plus the dinosaur bones all over the place, plus our tendency to mythologize, then you get dragons, right? So. But it's like a kind of Jungian archetype or some such like that as well, which can there's all kinds of stuff that you could there's just multiple approaches you could use to explain the universality of the dragon myth is all I'm saying.
Sure. I don't know. I like the idea of and this is bad too, and this is this might get me looked at, frowned at by some folk, but I like the notion of the demi-human. That stuff like Tolkien was pre-Diluvian, that the Earth was a different place before the Great Catastrophe that killed off a shed ton of life.
You take a global, are you uncertain about the flood nature, or do you have a specific take on the global? Like, do you are a global flood, local flood?
Local flood, global flood. Yes. I don't know. But honestly, I have absolutely no doubt that there was a worldwide catastrophe. We have a sunken city discovered on the seabed near Cuba. We've got a lot of sunken cities around. I would not doubt if the Earth cracked open. I don't think that everything beneath the dirt is all lava. I think that a lot of it's water. We've got plenty of well springs, hot water springs in the oceans and where water's coming up out of the earth. So, I would not doubt a great catastrophe. That's, I think in 6,000 years, for the billions they say it took for us to evolve at this point, I think in the past 6,000 years, civilization has grown by leaps and bounds. It's like exponential. Our growth, our ability to manipulate nature, technology, I would not doubt a great catastrophe like that, and that what laid before is an Earth we wouldn't understand. I think a lot of our mythology might have a base of it. There might be you
would expect if you're thinking of like an ancient technology view or whatnot, right? Like, so they all had awesome tech or whatever.
I wouldn't doubt it. Look at
you would expect a lot of like archaeological findings of like high tech stuff, but all we got is a lot of stone.
High tech. What was high tech then might not. See what I mean? We don't know what the Earth would have looked like. There's no way to prove that kind of a thing. It's just I kind of like the idea. I can't say I believe it. I don't know.
I mean, I like the idea too, but like I don't know. I don't know what you mean by like the idea. I like the idea in the sense that like I like X-Men too. So it's I don't mean that in like a diminutive sense. I mean it like it's a cool idea, but like whether or not it's a likely idea or an idea that I would defend. I wouldn't. I don't know how.
Trust me, it isn't easy. And I was only offering for sake of conversation.
Oh yeah, sorry. Sorry, I don't want to. I'm sorry if I'm pushing.
Great, man. No, Frank, you are freaking awesome. And if anybody tells you otherwise, send them to me and I'll smack them. Shalom, David. Welcome. So, Halo is inconsistencies in what you're being taught from one school of thought and what other people are saying from others. Good. Well, keep an open mind. You know, you shouldn't neglect what your eyes and ears tell you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
You know, it's spherical. The earth is spherical. Don't fight so people should not, yeah.
But my eyes and ears tell me the earth is flat.
Dude.
New eyes and ears.
Could you argue for a flat earther, Frank?
Me? Oh,
I can argue for like a really weak version of anything. It depends on how far you get, who's countering me.
I could not, like, I'm too I love science too much to like even try to like argue that point. I don't even know how I could.
Oh man, I've been telling my son since he was 8. He heard me going off about a midrash, which is a metaphorical story told to explain something in the Torah, if you want to look at it that way. It's a nice story. It's a great story. It has a great lesson. You can't put it in logical fact. Okay, we know this going into it, so we can digest it a lot easier. And he kind of took me for real. And ever since then, I have told my son, I said, just go with science. Don't go with don't go with opinions of scientists, because people who get press time probably have a lot of money for some good reason. But the evidence, never, I tell him all the time, he's got social issues. I'm like, never go away from science. Science will not. The scientific method is sacrosanct. Don't you can always count on science. You can always count on the method. You can always count on the results, and whether they pan out for the hypothesis, whatever. Whether they pan out what you might be thinking, stick with science. Science is good for you. It's good for you. I am shocked, y'all, in the Great Debate community, just how many people in there are crazy. Some of them that everybody talks about. I don't really talk about the people much. I don't know a lot of these people. What Ken Ham, what's his name? Gav talked about. Yeah. Jesus rode a dinosaur. Sorry.
Oh my God.
I've heard people say that, like, they were. Never mind. But anyway, I'm feeling too smart to take the conversation that dumb today. But yeah, like these people that think that dinosaurs and humans coexisted in the near past really kind of
it's just a pet peeve of mine. If you say that dinosaurs and humans exist, it makes me cringe. It's so irritating to hear that.
There was a lot of men before Adam that existed. So anyway, I would never. I've seen a picture of Jesus petting a dinosaur, petting a baby.
I'm gonna say that was probably photoshopped.
No, somebody definitely went to Photoshop. Somebody went back in time, took a picture of a dinosaur, took a picture of Jesus doing this.
My first was an acquired taste. I apologize.
We all know Jesus petted a velociraptor. We all know this,
Gab, I think you broke me. The Romans used to call Jews atheists.
Did they?
When they went to their temple, there was no gods. Where's your gods? God's everywhere. God's in you. God's in me. They couldn't handle that. They couldn't, so a lot of them called, a lot of the Roman priests and Greeks too, really had a hard time with Jews because they were, of course, Jews were very civilized compared to most of the world at the time, but, so the Greeks liked them very, very much so at first, and Babylonians too. But they couldn't handle the fact that you go in their temple and where's God? Okay.
Jews have been like the punching bag of all religions for so long.
Oh, Gav. Gav says over here in the side chat, he's like, Jews? Civilized? Have you met my people? Have you not met my people? Anyway.
You want to go on a new topic? Because I can ask like another question.
Ask a question. Yeah, I'm done. That's it for me, y'all. Go ahead.
You say that you're a B'nai Noah. Like, what I read that about that a little bit, but could you like explain the distinction between like a Jew and a B'nai Noah, or like a distinction, or to whatever degree it is? So yeah.
B'nai Noach. Okay, the reason why I would even say the word B'nai Noach is because I'm saying the Hebrew word for human. In the Torah, Noah and his family come out of the ark, and God makes a covenant. A lot of people, in Western religion will say it was a promise. God makes a promise. God also, a covenant also requires, it's a contract. It requires two. There is a base law set for all humanity that allows you to live. And that is the Noahide law, 7 categories of law. In Torah, this would be universal to mankind. And the way our civilizations moved on, I would say most human beings are probably under this category of God-fears. No offense, guys, sorry. So I would say B'nai Noach because it's easy to acknowledge. It's a great phrase to use, but it really means human. Keeping 7 categories of law. There's no rituals, there's no beliefs, there's no creeds necessarily. Possibly the Rambam's 13 principles of faith could definitely apply. Interestingly enough, with the Noahide code, you're not required to believe in God. You're just prohibited from worshiping anything in creation, including an idea, like anybody else is. The difference is, the difference really, some say it's Abraham, and that's true that Abraham introduced circumcision into the law, or Abraham didn't. God did with Abraham. But circumcision went forward from Abraham forward, but for pretty much what distinguishes a Jew or an Israelite today would be Sinai. This is when, after the Exodus, when God shows up at Sinai, gives the 10 statements, the 10 commandments, 3 million people hear him speak. At that point, everybody becomes Jewish. Actually, everybody becomes Israelite. Because nowadays, what we call Jewish are actually Judah, Levites, and the Kohanim. So you got the subcategory of Levite, which is the Kohanim, which are Aaron's, descendants. And you've got the Judah, Jew, J-O-O, that word. We even spell it wrong. It should be J-U, but oh well. So that's the difference is in as far as this thing it goes. A Noahide basically is just, I acknowledge myself as a child of Noah. We can get more complicated because I've kind of gone beyond 7 laws at this point. The 7 categories, very secular, very easily applicable. Like I say, most people do it. It's no idolatry, so you don't worship anything in creation. We got a little bit of a problem with that. Yeah. The other one is blasphemy, which is actually cursing God, and I'm not going to get into that because I'm not going to tell anybody how to curse God. But there is not ridicule. This isn't about ridiculing or questioning or saying something heretical. It's not like that. Blasphemy is a specific thing that we don't do. Murder, theft, illicit sexual relations involving incest and bestiality and adultery. You've got not tearing the flesh from a living animal. Which would go from everything is to, you don't force a tree and a vine to mate, like you wouldn't forcefully make a donkey or a mule, and you wouldn't let your ox not eat off the ground while you're working him. You don't muzzle your ox. You rest your ox on the 7th day, in Israel. So there's that, and then there's setting up fair and balanced courts of justice, which is to enforce the others to have a justice system somehow to maintain order in civil life. That's pretty much the 7 laws of Noah. That's it, pretty much. The Jewish people, however, have a very special. That was a very specific bunch at a specific time that basically got married to God. It's the best way I can put it. And they have a special mission. People like me kind of hang on to those guys. They're always hanging around. You know, always go. You know, that's what Garrett is. He's the guy that hangs out with them. He's the guy that's always around. Stranger sojourner. Torah, you know, we talk about that covenant. All mankind will follow this covenant till the end of the earth. So when someone comes along and says that that's been nullified, wrong. Everybody is under this one covenant. Everybody, from slave to vagabond to king, everybody's under this law. Worldwide. There are, later on when Israel becomes a nation at Sinai, there were non-Jews who attached then, and there is, you know, there are people who attached then that's when you begin to split up the Noahide, if you will, into Nochri or Ger, because you have some who are foreign, who aren't close to Israel, who don't know the God of Israel. And you've got people who were rather familiar with Torah and the God of Israel, and that would be the Ger guy. Not an official status or anything, just a great adjective. So when I say Ben Noach, it's really just the thing to say nowadays. It's I'm a God-fearing person who clings to the God of Israel, is what that means. I'm a non-Jewish person. I eat nevela. I'm not circumcised. Well, I was circumcised, but I haven't been through a bris. So, you know, there's a difference. I have a lot of freedom in the code, but there's a lot more to grow, I think. Like I say, Noahide law is so basic to human beings today. It should fill up page 1, and then you turn it and move on. Non-Jewish Torah believer, Rosalie Jordan. There you go. That's what Noahide means. I hope that you get me talking. I'll keep going. So I hope that helps. There you go.
Well, like, here's a question. You know how there's like a forgiveness system in a Jewish law? Like, you know, there's certain sacrifices that you can do, which are like, you know, like there's Thanksgiving sacrifices, and there's like among them are like forgiveness. They're related, right? Like, so I know like forgiveness is a major thing in Christianity, but like I know that there's a kind of echo of it in Judaism. Is there a Noahide equivalent to that?
It's yes. Yes, there is. Well, not in the law itself. This is a law for people 3 hairs away, as I've heard said in the past. I don't want to name names. He can take credit if he wants to. 3 hairs away from Neanderthal. It's not the best system in nowadays. In the Torah, yes, it's called teshuvah. If you do wrong, you can't give an offering for an intentional sin. End of story. You can't do that. The offerings are like roses when you're asking your wife for forgiveness. They don't really mean that much. If you deliberately stayed out too late and you came home and she's mad, you know, is one thing. If you lost track of time and you come home and you're genuinely sorry, there'll be 2 different opinions. You know, she's going to have she'll know. Buying roses on the way doesn't mean much, in as much as what comes from in here. So like sin offerings are very specific. Things like Thanksgiving offerings, meal offerings. I'll just put it to you this way real quick. A priest has to eat, and they don't have an inheritance, and they don't have income. They're priests. That's what they do. So they need to eat. Peace feast offerings, Thanksgiving offerings, if you will. A priest has to eat. But as far as like offerings, there's teshuvah. But teshuvah means full repentance and making good on what you did. You have to go to the person you wronged, and you have to apologize. And really, in some ways, not fully, But you have to put yourself at their mercy. If they don't forgive you, that's their problem.
Yep.
But you have to go through a series of repentant behavior.
Yeah, that's the Catholic. It sounds very Catholic.
Well, it's, you know, if you steal from somebody in Judaism, you're their slave until you've paid it off. You become their property. Everyone thinks slavery is bad. Well, it's not so bad. You know, you can put somebody in jail and you still never get your stuff back. You're still not, nothing's done good. Nothing's, you know, you're not, you know, there's no justice. The scales haven't been balanced. He has his stuff. He has your stuff. He sold all of it. He's in prison. Can't do nothing for you. You're not compensated for his time sitting in a box, you know. So, you know, but there is teshuvah. There is repentance. But the offerings, you cannot rely, and that's only for unintentional sins, and you can't rely on them anyway. What God say? It was in Isaiah. Place your, Zechariah maybe, put your feast offerings and your peace offerings. I don't care. I didn't pull you out of Egypt to burn animals. God says that. Yes, it's in the law. God says, I didn't pull you out of Egypt.
I like, what is it? I like obedience more than sacrifices or something like that.
Yeah, he's like, you know, you're burning animals up and do jack crap for me. It's for you, and you're not doing nothing about it. You're not becoming a better people. You're devolving. Yeah. It's not the forgiveness where you get like instant forgiveness, and we should always forgive sin. You don't forgive sin, you forgive the sinner, and only if the sinner is repentant. You can forgive him, but you know, at the same time, it's all about action. It's all about here and now. There is forgiveness, though. I don't know if John or Gav can add to that, or Rosalie, or David, or Shaylo, if anybody can chime in on that. Rosalie, you put no retribution. What's that mean?
That was what you were saying, and I used that. There was no compensation for getting your stuff back.
I know a lot of people don't like a law in the Torah that says that that if you rape a woman, you have to marry her. And the language often uses she's forced to marry him. Well, she's not forced.
He is.
But yeah, but you know, what do you do with the woman whose problem might just be knocked up, who's got no father, no income, no nothing? She's a virgin. She has no husband. She's got nothing. She's been dishonored and humbled. If you don't think it's humbling for a woman to be pregnant, well, get married, have one, have a baby, and find out how humbled a woman gets. You know, hell yeah, you make him her slave. Hell yeah, he marries her. And if she doesn't want him, she can divorce him at any time. You know, I know in the written Torah, there's not a lot of room for women to get divorced, but in Old Torah, it's pretty much even keel. There's even something where you can where the community can compel a husband who refused to give his wife a decree of divorce. She doesn't want to be his husband. He's a schmuck. She wants to live her own life, and she wants out. She goes to the judges. She goes to the Sanhedrin. She goes to her courts. And you know, and if he deems possible, and he gets haughty and says, I don't want to give you a divorce because I'm the male man, and I'm the man, and manly man, and I'm the paterfamilias and strut, and the community will compel him, like tie him up to a pole outside of town until, you know, I mean, the community will compel him to divorce. So she's not mistreated. She's got compensation for what he's done for her, and it's coming from the person that wronged her. And everyone sees it as, oh, it's forced to marry a rape victim. It's like, you're not getting the big picture. There's no prisons in Torah. It doesn't work like that. If he rapes her, he's her slave. She gets all his stuff, save what he needs to make a living. She gets control of his house. You know,
I just want to jump in right here real quick. A rapist and a woman that he rapes, they're not compelled to marry each other. That's not what the verse says. You're talking about Deuteronomy 28, right? Or whatever it is, Deuteronomy, what is it, 18, 38, 28, 18, 8?
8, something. I'm looking it up right now.
Somewhere like that.
32. Hang on, I think. Nope. Gav, can you help us on this one? Or go ahead, John. You were talking. Anyway, yeah, I know exactly. Yes.
So if you look at the commentary, if you look at Rashi's commentator on that passage, it says that the rapist is to be put to death, and it's considered 2 mitzvahs, a double mitzvah, because 1, you're stopping a rape, and 2, you're killing a rapist. So the question is, if that's how we should interpret that passage, who she's marrying again? If he's dead?
I think it's Deuteronomy 22, 28 to 29.
Thank you.
So the person that's being married, so the person that has to be compelled to marry is the ones who have sex together. In Judaism, if you have sex, you're married. That's the way it works. You want to have sex, you're married. You know, tough.
I never heard that commentary until now, man.
So
seriously.
So right. So those verses there, it kind of, I don't know. It goes together. I mean, if a man meets a virgin who is not betrothed and seizes her and lies with her, and they are found, then the man who lies with her shall give to the father the young woman 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he has violated her. He may not divorce her of the life.
So yeah, how do we read that? And I mean,
so if we go back, if we actually read the whole thing, because it's sort of a story. It's speaking about different women, different situations about how a man may come to marry.
Right.
So there's different ways. It's leading up. They're doing this. He may not. And there's, if you go read it before that, it talks about evidence, and then a mother shall take the evidence of her fragility to the elders of the city, and it's all a build-up. So there's different scenarios that might happen. So a man might find a woman in a field. A man might find a woman in the city. But in this context, the woman wants to go with it's like 2 kids going up to like a cool spot of town, you know, and they're hanging out and they're getting jiggy with it. She's a willing participant, if you want to say. So here, I'm gonna get you the Rashi commentator
okay.
here.
Yeah, because
by the way, do you guys have like good online, like free online sources for like Jewish commentary? Because like I know a lot of it for Christian commentary, but I don't know anything.
Chabad's got Rashi. If you go to the Chabad website, go under learning and values, and go to the texts. You'll get the Jewish Bible, and then it'll give you
AISH.com.
AISH.com as well, and you can get commentary there as well. Sephria, Sefria, is a really great source. Not all of it's in English, but when you get English, it's good stuff. I don't make a shout out to somebody too. Oh, hang on, I'll give it in a minute when I get this thing. Look it up here.
A while ago, I tried, and I couldn't finish it, but I tried reading the Guide to Perplexed. I need a guide to the Perplexed for the Guide to the Perplexed, because it's like there's a whole bunch of like, oh, this word means this, and this word means that, and this word means this.
Right.
Put that down.
Tried? You might not get it, but man, dude, you tried. Wow, you're brave. That's some heavy.
I mean, it was more like for a philosophy reason, not particularly theology. It was more like I want to get in like the whole Western canon, if you've ever heard the phrase, of philosophy, and included in it is why am I not remembering his name? The guy who wrote the Guide to the Perplexed. It's considered like a philosophically relevant text. Like I also want to read some of the Muslim scholastics of the time, but I can't find them in English. So it's like, well, I can't do that.
So I have here. I just want to read this right here. So the real what the Torah actually says, if you actually read it in Hebrew, and this is the translation. But if a man finds a betrothed girl in the field, so now this is the context of she's married to another man, and then this man comes, and then the man overpowers her and lies with her. Then the man who lays with her shall surely die. And Rashi commentates, just as a man rises against his fellow and murders him, and the example is Cain and Abel, as he rose up. So the same language here in Hebrew is the same language as Cain rose up against his brother. So whatever that context means. So maybe Cain raped Abel in the field. Maybe he didn't crack him over the head with a rock. Maybe he just sodomized him. Who knows? But that's the answer. So he is to put to death. So it continues. The rabbis interprets this as he overpowers him, so therefore he shall surely die. That's the commentator of Rashi's commentator answer. So anyone out there who actually thinks under halacha that a woman who's raped has to marry a rapist is absolutely out of their mind. That's not what Jewish law says. They're absolutely out of their mind.
And she shall be his wife. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, that is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, and lie with her, and they be found, the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he hath humbled her. He may not put her away in all his days.
So in that context, they're both complicit. They're both willing participants. But in the other context, in what it says, a man shall rise up against a woman and lies with her, overpowers her. In the context of she is overpowered. That's no good. That's not acceptable.
I would like to ask you, Idol Smasher, what exactly is Atheist Night while we have the moment?
Immortal Great Heathen Army, Shalom, welcome. Good to see you. Yes, Shayla, go ahead. I'm listening, sir.
I said, what exactly is Atheist Night that you said earlier?
What is an atheist?
No, Atheist Night. You said Atheist Night earlier,
Oh,
like tonight's.
We've been doing this for over 3 years now. Into our 4th year, we get here every Thursday and study Torah. It's open for anybody who wants to discuss. And we do this all the time, but I thought tonight we'd invite atheists in to chat, because atheists never come, not since J.D. Kane came years ago. I think he was the only atheist who ever came, and he was cool as hell. Actually, I really get along well with that man. But so yeah, and that's what Atheist Night is. We're inviting, and that's why I put the link up in the Great Debate community, because it's a closed community. There are so yeah, I figured why not invite folks in who would not normally come, could ask us questions we're not used to hearing. Maybe we can help y'all understand the Bible in a completely different light than you're probably used to.
I got you.
It's Christianity. It's Christianity, and how many different denominations of that, and some of them do make complete asses of themselves. Bless them. Bless their hearts. And I don't want to say it like this because it's wrong.
Please don't bless them. As someone who came out of that, do not bless them. Do not encourage them.
There's some good people, very charitable people who give you their shirt off their back and might have a completely messed up, they're good people. I'm good people. They're doing the best, they don't know different. They can read and write and they have the internet, but they choose to go other ways. Fine. We want to wish them the best. We do. We want to wish them all the best. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. And the fact that so much of what atheists are pissed off about is half the shit that I would say Noahides are pissed off about, because we left the church, we left religion. Yeah, we go to the Jewish people, but we don't go for a religion. There's no rituals I have no rituals to do. I'm not commanded to do any kind of davening, or prayer. There's no tzitzit. There's no. I have no rituals to go through. I'm not required. So I honestly sympathize with the atheists, probably more than a lot of God-fearers on the web right now. So I thought it'd be an opportunity for folks to come in, and I don't want to give a back because I think I don't come off right. I think, I don't come off right in there. And I figured, well, if we get some atheists who might be interested or have a question, or at least get a sense that it's not all fire and brimstone and Satan and Lucifer and
yeah.
that there was a nation of people who believed in the heavenly spheres, and believe in the rotation of a sphere before Columbus made his journey.
Yeah. Like even the Romans believed that the earth was round. Like there's evidence.
Didn't some of those big Greek philosophers? Yeah.
Yes, and they calculated with a high accuracy of precision the exact size of the earth as well.
Yeah. It's quite amazing because
by
people
comparing the angles of shadows taken in different places at the same time, they could calculate the approximate circumference of the earth.
The thing about Judaism is it's 100% testable. Whether it's Noahide law or Jewish law, it's 100% testable. You can put this to work. You can find out what it says and activate it in your life, and you can test it. That's the great thing about it, that I can't prove to anybody God exists. I don't want to prove to you God exists. Who am I to prove to you God? I am not Moshe. I'm not Moshe Rabbeinu. I'm not Moses. I can't bring you to Sinai and have God speak to you. But, at least with Torah, with a text, a cosmic text, really, there's a lot more to it than anybody gets, trust me. At least you get something you can put to work. You can put to test. You can read it. You can apply it. Even the metaphorical, poetic stuff teaches you things. You can learn from it. You can apply it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And you can do, whatever. No harm, no foul. Just don't kill, don't steal, and don't rip the leg off a living donkey and eat it.
Well, I don't mean to contradict you.
Go ahead.
You said, well, like the thing is like that you can't like prove a God to me also puts me at a spot to where I'm like, I can't like see that being a thing. Cause like with the Big Bang, you can, establish a scientific method to prove, it's there and it's, existent and it happened. And we're still like, we can still find, the cause or like not the cause, the effect of it. Like,
Absolutely.
We can still feel the aftermath of the Big Bang, but like with a God, it's just with the idea of it's saying this God was, here in, no space and time, practically like a non-existent land and made our universe. That's just, it kind of makes me like I would say makes me gives me a brain fart because I can't like exactly put the pieces of how that would happen,
Yeah, I think that the big problem is the detachment that the Western world's been taught. Frank, actually, you touched on this earlier about having people intercede to God for you. One of the tenets of Judaism is there's not as much God out there; it's God in here and here.
Yeah.
It's as much internal as it is external. When we focus on trying to find God in the dirt, we'll find God in the dirt a bit. Science is a fact. I mean, inflationary theory, the Big Bang theory, if you will, whatever, that was kind of visualized centuries ago by Torah scholars. Makes perfect sense. Why do Jews not negate evolution? How can they? And there's nothing in the Torah that really contradicts it either. But when you start getting these ideas, the separation, the flesh is evil and the spirit's good, bullshit. You are holy. You are worthy. Your functions, your bodily functions are holy. Everything about you is beautiful. You're made in His image. He's as much a part of you. I don't want to say midichlorians if you're a Star Wars fan. But it's that the song is being sung. It's just a matter of hearing it and working with it. It's like surfing the wave. You can stumble and whatnot, but it's when you ride the wave, it's part you and it's part nature. And that marriage, that marriage of the heaven and earth, that's what Judaism's about. It's much more closer. You know, we can try to look for God out there, and I'm sure we'll find him, but there's also an internal thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just enough. I don't think anybody understands.
It needs to be both.
Yeah. Immortal Great Heathen Army. Is it I? One? What's up, Immortal? How you doing, sir? Madam, shalom. You got a mic?
I brought him into the call. I guess his mic's not working. I met him through another hangout. He's all right. He's a cool. I guess he's all right. He's not too bad of a person. Do you have your mic working?
I hear crackle.
Yeah, it's working.
Test.
There you go.
Yeah, sorry, I was being quiet and listening to you folks. But yeah, it's it's supposed to be one. Yeah.
Are you so you know Brother John, or no, you know Yochanan here?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm kidding. I'm just messing around.
Well, I mean, yeah, I've talked to him before, for sure.
Well, welcome to the Nilvah Nexus.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Earlier you were talking about, you have a show called The Atheist Night.
This is it. Are you an atheist?
Okay. Well, yeah, I am an atheist. I'm not really a heathen. Don't be fooled by my username.
I doubt that.
It sounded a little grandiose enough to where, yeah, I like this guy.
It's almost like calling yourself the idol smasher, right?
It was James the Idol Smasher, but I changed it. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, I like Viking history. I read into the historical Great Heathen Army, and I was like, well, I found my username.
Don't worry.
Mine came.
I used to go by the name Crazed Atheist. It was terrible. Now I'm just an agnostic, and there's not really much to do with that. It's like crazy agnostic. How does that work? How does
shrug your shoulders, I guess.
It's like I shrug my shoulders a bit harder than most people, most agnostics.
You do with a crazy.
I was like, so do you believe in God? I don't know.
Idol Smasher. I hope you don't take this the wrong way. To me it's a compliment, but you remind me of Vermin Supreme.
Who?
He's an entertainer.
Gosh.
I'll take it.
Is that the guy that wears the boot on his head?
Yeah, the
That's
political
correct.
candidate.
Oh my
Yeah.
He'll buy a pony for everybody.
We need a pony-based economy, all right?
Yeah, he made Ralph Nader and Jill Stein look sane.
I think Ralph Nader is actually a pretty reasonable person. I actually would not mind him being president.
Is that a
Someone who
commentary
we
on
need more.
Nader, or is that a commentary on our recent election?
The president.
Both there, Dave.
I mean, the presidency in America just seems to be going from one sentient tire fire to the next. So I don't know.
You're claiming that they're sentient. I'm not sure. You lost me there. I got tire fire. Where are we getting sentient out of this?
Well, they do have a tendency to lead others,
Well, they do speak and move their hands. So.
I don't know, man. Have them do a Turing test or something, right?
Isn't that what the entire election is? It's a great big Turing test where they pretend they're not narcissistic sociopaths.
Well,
I drink the beer you drink.
I swear the fight between Trump and Hillary was like, you did this thing, you did that thing. No, you did that thing. It was like 2-year-olds fighting.
Yeah.
I like Trump's personality because he's a fellow New Yorker, and I dig it. Just the way that he's just a very abusive. He's an abusive prick, quite honest. It's funny, but no, I can't say I'm a Trump. I can't say I'm a Trump fan. I think he has beautiful I think he has a beautiful family. I think he raised great kids. He's very much against alcohol and drugs and pornography and all the filth of modern day society. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's great that he's like that personally.
You didn't vote for him.
He's a little mashugana. What happened?
You didn't vote for him, is what I was saying.
I did not vote for him, no.
Yeah, I didn't either. But we were talking earlier in the hangout. It's like, with all the anti-hate or anti-Trump shit that's out there. I mean, we're so over the top, and it's sold as the real deal. It makes me want to like him even more. I didn't vote for him. I didn't want to like this guy. But, if you hate him that bad, if you're the guys that hate him, okay, all right.
I mean, for him to go on the presidential debate and literally right to Hillary's face, call her husband a rapist, and literally point to the stands and say, "I have your rape victims here tonight, and they're here supporting me." He has chutzpah, that's for sure. I mean, him as like I said, I like him personally. I like his personality. For president, it's rough.
He's refreshing to me.
Well,
it's not normal. He's not right.
Donald Trump and tactful conversation go together like motor oil and frozen yogurt. Okay, so they do not mix at all, and it shows. Like, he just does not know how to speak to a public audience. He's definitely not family friendly in his content.
He just doesn't have it in him. He's too much of a New Yorker. He's just. I don't know how any way to put it. It's just, I know there's other politicians from New York and they're civilized and stuff, but he's just too much of a regular guy. I guess maybe that's what it is. He's a regular guy.
Dude,
you can't have like a regular guy.
Not a regular guy. You ever been?
Sure, of course he is.
No, okay. Regular guys' houses don't look like the inside of Saddam Hussein's palaces. Okay.
No, I mean a regular guy is like he's like me. He's like James. He's like you. He can come to this broadcast and hang out and chill with us.
He's not a lawyer.
He has a short temper though, so I'm not too sure.
Is that all you mean? He's not a lawyer?
Yeah.
Different. See, as a regular guy, I believe in the existence of this third category. See, you have lawyers, you have regular people, and you have this third category of people who are neither lawyers nor regular people. And I know a lot of people don't believe in this category. I understand that some people think it's a myth. Donald Trump, I think, falls in there. He's not regular. He's not a lawyer. He's
lawyer.
That category makes a lot of sense.
What, man?
They're hiring the lawyers.
They're called a-hole is that third category.
I thought it was human reptiles.
Well, yeah, reptilians, those two.
There's the greens and then there's the grays, and then we have a third category.
The orange.
Rosalie's like Archie Bunker. Dad, don't you know that 90% of or 70% of Americans today are killed by handguns? Archie says, "Will it make you feel any better, little girl, if they just pushed out of windows?" Archie Bunker. Okay.
Wait, what was it? What did he say?
It was Archie Bunker. It was that word. Dad, don't you know that 70% of murders today are committed by handguns? And he says back to her, "Would it make you feel any better, little girl, if they just pushed out of windows?"
Oh. Yeah. We got to get rid of, make handguns legal, then make knives illegal, then make hands illegal.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? They weren't killed by handguns.
Make cars illegal.
Just pulling triggers. We gotta
make cars illegal.
Yeah, man. All the people that are killed annually by motor vehicles.
I think we just should increase the amount of points you need to get whenever getting your driver's license. To be honest, hell, you could you could be 1 point above the cut of the rest, and you could get a car.
Well, I mean, in the state I grew up in, at least partially grew up in Ohio, it's damn near impossible to lose your driver's license. Like you have these guys that are getting 12, 13, 14 DUIs, and they still have a driver's license somehow. Like they do their 6 months. They get like their 6 months in jail. Like the only way to like lose your driver's license in Ohio is if like you get into a car wreck that kills multiple people. And you have to do it more than once, usually. It's just ridiculous. Like it's really easy to get a driver's license, and it's even easier to keep one.
You killed a child while driving? That's strike one now, Jimmy.
Like what?
It's like,
You killed like 10 people in a school bus? That's strike two. Don't let us get to strike three now.
Yeah, 20 years later. All right, you've been in front of this judge 27 times for DUI.
Man, what is this? Like driver's ed for Muslims?
Why not? Let's do it.
We're crazy enough to let the women out. Okay, Gav, I want to ask you a question because you're a rabbi and you're really cool.
I will claim one of them.
Okay, I'll take rabbi because it's on your avatar. Okay, I want to put a question to you that atheists have an issue with when it comes to the Torah, and I'll just go Genesis prior to Abraham. When it comes to what we find in science and what is presented as Torah or as Genesis in the Western world, how do you go about that? How do you being who you are and what you do, your vocation, is there any kind of compensation in what we find in the lab juxtaposed to what we might find in the Torah? Is there a
can you narrow that down a little bit? That's a very broad.
Genesis 1, maybe Genesis parts of Genesis 2. You know the rap. Okay.
Yeah. So how do I explain this to people?
Well, yeah. How would you? Because there's not a lot of Kabbalah with you. You don't have to go into Midrash and.
No, I don't.
Very fact-based.
Okay, I'll give you my personal answer that gives me a very easy out, but isn't likely to make anybody else happy. So yeah, my position on Genesis, or a good chunk of Genesis, is that it's not recording actual events as they literally happened. It's something we'd call moral storytelling or moral metaphor. I don't think there was an actual flood. I don't think there was an actual ship that Noah and his family was on. It's all meant to set up kind of the background of the story in later parts of the narrative, but it's not something that actually happened. And it's not something that I'm going to spend my time and waste my energy looking for evidence of. It's stories to convey moral meaning. It's not literal events in Genesis 1. If you want to take those literal, that's fine. If you don't, fine. There's no real consequence either way, in my opinion.
I actually like that answer. Not gonna lie.
It doesn't have to be fact.
So, Abraham, maybe he wasn't like a real person. That was a parable.
No, I would say that Abraham would be a real person. But here's the thing: the central narrative of the Torah is this family, which later becomes a nation. Before that, it's basically what I hate to use the term filler material. It's setting up the background. So God creates the universe, creates man, creates the world. You have the Tower of Babel, the creation of different peoples, different languages, and you have the story of the flood, which is basically creation can get so far off course that some type of massive intervention is needed in order to save some type of remnant or whatever. And then moving forward from that. I mean, I don't think there's any necessity for those to actually be actual events that occurred in order for the rest to be true.
Like when I first talked to John, I asked him a question that I had never asked a Jew before. With regards to Noah's, quote unquote boat. Asked John if he thought it was a boat or, kind of like a box / an ark, because, that's what Noah's thing was called, Noah's Ark. I don't think the authors who wrote Genesis were talking about a ship.
It was a submarine ark, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, that was kind of a tangent, but I thought that was cool. So, we were talking about Genesis. we were talking about Genesis, so I wanted to bring that up.
But I mean, it's just as far as really what you believe about the flood doesn't really matter, in my opinion. Like, if it happened, fine, it could be a local flood, world flood, whatever. It doesn't really hinge on anything. But I would not expect that, if you could comb Mount Ararat in Turkey, that you're actually going to find the remains of a 4,000-year-old ship up there. I don't think it's going to happen because I don't think that ship ever actually existed. And like I said, my answer is not going to make anybody happy. So.
Well, if I've heard before, throughout my time, past decade or so, that a lot of people look at anything prior to Abraham as allegory.
Right.
Or that it should be taken as such.
Right, exactly.
Well, it'd be pretty hard to say Abraham is an allegory and then have a straight face and calling yourself a Hebrew or a monotheist or...
Yeah. Well, there are people that do that. I'm not one of them, but there are people that
do. It's pretty difficult because then, it
becomes
Jacob. You need the matriarchs and the patriarchs. You need the whole...
It becomes a bloodline. It becomes family at that point. That's you can trace. That you can keep track of. Father to son, father to son, father to son. That's traceable. That's trackable, But really, anything prior to Abraham, I've been told, should be taken as allegory. So it's not difficult for me personally. I can see the flood as a 4,000-year-old event. I can see it as a local event. I can see it as a global event. I can see, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but it kind of doesn't matter. It's that much of the Torah is spent on a boatload of back history that you have to give in a language that children would understand.
Mm-hmm. Well, another book of the Bible that people spend so much time, theologians have spent so much time trying to figure out, okay, when does this take place? Where does this take place? Are there any place names we can trace this to so we figure out what are these names sound really kind of bizarre or whatever. The book of Job. People take the book of Job, it's like, oh, when was this? Where was this? It's a story. It's a story that conveys a moral point. You're getting lost in the details and you're missing the entire big picture.
Not seeing the forest to the trees, as they say.
Right.
Father of Abraham is working on a book, and I hope he finishes it, and I hope he gets it published. But he was talking about how Job is a allegory of the human struggle.
Yes. The different visitors are different types of psyches.
Yes.
Job's friends, yeah.
He's based on a real guy, but and it's a great. When you look at Job as an allegory, it's freaking mind blowing. It will blow your mind. Instead of trying to look at it as a literal event in history, it will blow your mind.
I think if people knew Jewish lingo and they understood Jewish culture and Jewish perspective on things, I think it makes the Torah a lot more easy to read. We can go on this. We can go on this all night. The Garden of Eden, the Tree of Life, the Tree of Knowledge, the serpent. What is that? Adam and Eve. This whole. We don't have to go farther than that. That whole story is essentially, if you just know basic what a tree of life means, right? You would, if you know that's Torah, well then it's not a real actual tree. If you have an animal soul, that the serpent wasn't an actual creature that existed. You know what I mean? You wouldn't. I don't know. I think that's probably where it all stems from. You know, if you knew what a mikveh was, you probably would understand the flood story. I mean, that's how I take the flood story personally. It's a mikveh. God put the world in a mikveh. You know, so go ahead.
No, I was going to quote Lewis Black when it comes to religion nowadays. It's not their fault because it's not their book.
Right. Sure. But
take
it's his book, but he just absolutely wipes his ass with it. But it's okay. I like that. I like that, Lewis Black. He's a funny guy. He's a funny guy.
It's not that wasn't good enough. Christians, was it? No. You call your book new, and you call our book old.
Yeah. He gets all irritated. He looks into the camera. He said, I turn on the TV Sunday morning, and there's a minister reading from my book.
Yes.
He said, you don't see a rabbi on TV interpreting the New Testament, now do you?
Well,
I think that would be awesome, personally. I would love to see rabbis explaining that. I think they would do a much better job.
I've done it. I actually taught a course on it at one point.
Really?
wait, Rabbi. Out of curiosity,
My friend Reuven actually. Sorry.
Out of curiosity, can you read Greek?
No, I'll admit that's my one weakness. I do rely on translation there. I can read Hebrew, I can read Aramaic, but I'm completely deaf when it comes to Greek. Should say blind, not really deaf. Because I can read, I just can't understand it.
Well, for me, it's getting late, so I'm going to have to hop off. You said you do this every Thursday night, correct?
Every Thursday, James the Auto Smasher at Gmail. You get my profile, gmail.com, or the Nova Nexus Facebook page. If you ever want to join in, it's really laid back. We're you're getting a look at it right now how it is. You're more than welcome anytime, dude.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, shalom. Thanks for stopping by, man. Good to meet you.
Same here.
Be well. So,
Yeah.
okay, go ahead, Immortal. Is there anything else I can call you besides Immortal?
Oh, you can call me Dan.
Dan, James. Hi, Dan, go ahead, speak.
Oh, I was going to say you sound just like Vermin Supreme.
I am the Vermin Supreme of the Noahide community. I'll take that.
Yeah, but his beard isn't that cool.
I don't know much about him. I have a few friends who are big fans of him on the campaign trail. So what is the difference between Aramaic and Hebrew? They look almost identical. I hear that Aramaic is a sister language, and I've had some folks tell me that's the language that angels can't read.
Yeah, okay, yeah. About that. Aramaic and Hebrew are very, 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 very similar. It's kind of like the difference between Spanish and Portuguese, only closer. Like they're less different than Spanish and Portuguese are. The grammar is basically identical. A lot of the vocabulary, if words are not the same, they somewhat sound the same, or they'll just be one or two letters off. But they're very, very similar languages.
Was the Hebrew inspired by the Aramaic or vice versa?
We don't really know. We know that they have their roots in the same time. They both have their roots in the Phoenician alphabet. And then Hebrew kind of branches off, and then Aramaic kind of branches off. Aramaic was adopted as the language of the Babylonian Empire, and they changed the alphabet pretty significantly. They started using what's called block lettering, which is what we've adopted, what we use for Hebrew now.
Right.
Before that, they both used a much older script.
Yeah, speaking of the Babylonian Empire, I was named after Daniel from the Old Testament You know, the Old Testament character.
The prophet?
Yeah,
Daniel.
Yeah, worked for King Nebuchadnezzar.
Yep. I've heard people say that as far as occupations go, no, the Jews never had it as so good as they had it in Babylon. That was one time in history, and I've heard that from a few different people. As far as occupations go, which all suck, don't get me wrong, but yeah, Babylon wasn't so bad. It's 10:15. I want to end the live portion now. I want to thank everybody for stopping by. Who doesn't stop by regularly, and everybody who does stop by regularly. Thanks for coming in, you guys. On behalf of everybody here and everybody who's not, David, Yochanan, Gabrielle, Rosalie, Danielle, and myself. Shalom, y'all.